This is Fred Ricciani of TSC News. I have right here on the line a very special guest. He is one half of one of the best tag teams, if not the best tag team in the business, The Addiction. I'm talking about Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion, Frankie Kazarian. Frankie, thanks so much for the time. How's it going?
Thanks for having me. It's going great. And when you say business, you have to say it with 3 syllables. The ridiculous way that Chris Daniels and I do. It's kind of our thing. But I'll let y'all give you a pass this one time.
Well, I can't do it as well as you guys, so, that's why I refrain from doing it. If I'm going to do it a half-assed way, why bother, right?
Hey, I'm on board with that.
Now, you and Chris have been teaming up for the last, 4, almost 5 years. I remember when you guys originally got linked up in TNA, at least on screen. It was kind of an odd deal. It was during the Claire Lynch storyline or somewhere around that time. Chris was
right before that. Yeah.
Oh, right before that. Yeah, Chris was blackmailing you apparently. It was just very, very confusing stuff. Where's this going? And lo and behold, 4 or 5 years later, you guys are maybe the best tag team in the business. Have been the last 4 or 5 years. Did your thing in TNA. Now turn it up in Ring of Honor. Looking back at it, did you ever think that would manifest into what it has today?
Well, I knew if we were given the opportunity to be a tag team, we knew, something special could happen. It was our idea to be a tag team, seeing the landscape of what was going on in TNA at the time, and just knowing that we're best friends and have been, traveling buddies and everything for the better part of both of our whole TNA runs. And just the way we think inside and outside of the ring, we knew it would work, and it was just a matter of getting that opportunity. And fortunately, we were given that opportunity, or we kind of took that opportunity, and we made it work. And it's been, one of the best things that happened in both of our careers.
Yeah, for sure. You guys are so ridiculously entertaining, and you've always been very talented in the ring. I think personally, you've been one of the more underrated guys, of the last decade or so, especially one of the building blocks of TNA. But I really feel like when you started teaming with Chris, we saw a different side of you. We saw a more charismatic, outgoing side of you. Was that always in you, or was that something that your best friend had to tap in and get out there on screen?
Well, it was for me. It was a matter of opportunity. When Chris and I got together and we started doing, backstage segments and in-ring promos, I had a greater opportunity to speak and stuff. And I admittedly so, coming up early on, especially in TNA and being on TV, being a character and being a guy that can deliver a promo wasn't necessarily my strongest asset. But I knew that there was always something inside of me. But being out there with Chris and being given the stuff we were given, it kind of put me in a position where it really forced me to keep up, and which was good. And it was the first time I was kind of allowed to be me and wasn't playing a role that someone kind of force-fed me and just didn't really manifest within me. So it was really just, an opportunity to go out there and be who I am and be comfortable. And because of that, I think it really, really helped me develop what I consider a really good persona and a good promo, and go out there and have fun doing it and to be entertaining. And I think we, as a group and individually, hit all those marks when you talk about from a character or a promo perspective.
Now, Ring of Honor has had a lot of great years. They've had Bryan Danielson as champion, and Samoa Joe, and CM Punk, and
yep.
Christopher Daniels has been there for a while. But I really feel like this year in particular, ROH seems to be clicking on all cylinders when it comes to TV, live events, now getting that national time slot on Destination America. Do you feel somewhat of a change, a positive direction in terms of momentum with Ring of Honor being there?
Yeah, I think ever since I walked in the door, it's my experience with Ring of Honor has been nothing but positive. I've been there over a year now, and it's been nothing but positive in terms of the wrestlers, the guys on the production, the guys running the show. It's been very, I can liken it to the early days of TNA where everybody was fighting a good fight for a cause. But this has even, got a little more steam and momentum than those days did. It's, there's really an atmosphere of a team environment and everyone working together and everybody having just amazing matches and trying to top the match that was in the ring previous, and and just from a production standpoint and from a booking standpoint, I think they've really hit their stride. And just doing really good things. They're a company that's not afraid to let angles build and give them the time that they deserve. And the wrestlers that they've built from within have just gone on to do really good things and are having amazing matches. Guys like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and the Briscoes and Adam Cole and the homegrown guys. They're just kicking ass, and it's really coming across now, and people are getting to see it now because of the Destination America deal. And it's I really think Ring of Honor is firing on all cylinders, and I'm not the only one who thinks that, because a lot of people are maybe becoming a little bit threatened by Ring of Honor, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and NXT seems to be kind of shifting its goal. It used to be a developmental territory, where young guys can learn and be promoted up to the main roster. And I guess it's kind of sort of that, but now it looks like they're trying to target the same hardcore fan that Ring of Honor seems to have a hold of. Is this whole new competition with NXT motivating you guys even more?
Well, if anything, it's flattering. It's real flattering when WWE and NXT like to they take the approach that there's no other wrestling in town, and that's the approach they should take, because they're the biggest, they're the best, and that's not going to change. So when you see the big dogs come in and start pardon my language, but start shitting where the little dog shit, it makes it's kind of flattering. But I don't know if it motivates us any more or any less. I don't think you can get a more motivated locker room than the Ring of Honor locker room already is. But we're just doing our thing, man. We're just continuing to do our thing, and nothing's gonna block the vision of the guys behind the scenes or the guys on the roster.
Now, I'm old enough to remember when you had that kick-ass feud with Chris Sabin, when you guys were both known as the Future. And lo and behold, now you are the veteran in a locker room that has some veterans, but a lot of young talent. Is it kind of surreal to maybe see some guys that kind of remind you of the future of the past?
Yeah, it's always kind of unsettling or flattering, call it what you will, when guys come up and say, "Man, I loved when I was in junior high, me and my friends were watching TNA pay-per-views, and you and Chris Sabin or you and AJ," and it's like, my God, it's like, wow, like, it's like I blinked and 17 years of a career have gone by. So sometimes I have to take a step back and look back at my body of work and go, wow, I did do all these things, and wow, it has been this long. So it's cool, it's cool to know that I've survived, and the survival rate in pro wrestling is very, very low. And to be active, and to be active on television or in a major promotion for the better part of 14, 15 years is saying something. So I'm very, very proud of that, and it's just a good feeling, and looking and feeling as best as I think I ever have is the icing on the cake.
You were trained by the late great Killer Kowalski, who also trained the likes of Perry Saturn, Triple H, just to name a few, a true legend in the business. And unfortunately, it seems like, at least when it comes to trainers, some of these guys are kind of a dying breed. I mean, everybody nowadays has a wrestling school. It's tough to get a great mentor like Mr. Kowalski. How important is it to you to be able to, maybe not necessarily train guys, but at least pass on some of the knowledge you got from Killer Kowalski and other veterans in the business?
Well, I mean, you said they're a dying breed, and that's very, very much the truth. Wrestling schools, by and large, nowadays are a complete joke. There's no governing body. There's no mandating. Any guy who wants to can buy a ring and rent location and train guys how to wrestle badly, and that's really upsetting. But it is what it is. There's basically, your options are, if you have a certain look or a certain pedigree, WWE can perhaps pick you up and put you through their factory, which is obviously top notch. And aside from that, you got guys like the Dudleys in Florida and Lance Storm in Canada and Booker and maybe a couple others, but those are the only other places you're going to go when you're going to really, really learn the ins and outs of the business. I think a lot of guys are lacking that just learning from a guy that's been there and done that and worked on top. And when you're looking for a wrestling instructor, you need to first look at what that instructor has done. And if it's if it's Mark Green, who was the Schlecky Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion, and he's training guys. You got to kind of question that. I mean, I know at least when I was seeking out wrestling schools, I looked at the Hearts camp, and I looked at the Power Plant, and I looked at Kowalski School, and I looked at them all. I only looked at ones that I had heard of and knew. So I think a lot of that is lacking, but it's just it's the way the business is going. It's the way that the business has changed, at least from the point of view of getting into it and training.
17 years and you're still going strong. You look great. How's your body feeling?
Good. I mean, I have my good days and my bad days. I've been blessed and fortunate enough not to have too many bad injuries. I mean, I tore my bicep and tore my tricep in the same year within months, and that kept me out for a long time. But aside from that, I've been very lucky. I try to take the best possible care of myself that I can. Nowadays it seems that what bothers me more is the traveling, the in and out of planes and cars and hotels. That takes a toll on your body more so, than being in the ring during some situations. But I can't, 37 years old and being in business 17 years, and a good part of that being, a pretty much full-time schedule. It's, I feel good, all things considering. I feel probably better than I have any right to be feeling. Let's say that.
With all due respect to Kurt Angle, are you thankful that you no longer have to take any German suplexes from him?
I'm sure I'll take a German suplex, but I don't know if I'll take another one from Kurt. I would love to. I would love to just have the opportunity to be in the ring with Kurt again, because he's a friend, and he's obviously a legend. He's a machine, and he's one of my favorite opponents. But I don't know if I could go back and do a count of all the Germans I've taken from him, but it has to be in the several hundreds when you factor in live events and everything else. And there's some nights that those were a little bit higher than the previous night, or a little bit rougher. But that's Kurt. Kurt's got an aggressive style, and I love that because he brought that out in me. I love the fans love seeing me take them. I'm pretty relieved that I only have to take 3 and 5 and 10 of them at a time anymore.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was when you guys had the Eagle Hall of Fame for Bobby Roode, and then Angle came out and cleaned house. And I remember you probably remember this. He suplexed you, and it looked like you landed on your head. And now I was working at Spike at the time, and we were all like, "Oh my God!" Is Frankie all right? Is he okay? Is he alive?
Yeah, that one was particularly rough. I remember Kurt had just came back, and we were dressed in our Dumb and Dumber tuxedos, and I remember I swung a cane. I had my orange cane, of course, because I had my orange tuxedo on. I remember swinging at him, and I remember when he locked in the waist lock to hit the German, I saw the cane in my hand. I think that threw me off a little bit, and he threw me really, really hard that time, and I rotated a little too much, and I felt that one. That one's definitely in there, but I guess it's my fault for wearing that ridiculous tuxedo and having that stupid cane with me. But yeah, that was one of the more memorable ones.
Oh man, are you saying that we're not going to see any more selections from brightly colored tuxedos?
Hey, never say never, man. Just because our show doesn't air on Thursday, don't think that Chris and I are done with the Throwback Thursday concept or idea. We definitely have a lot of ideas in the holster, and we're definitely not done with that. I can promise you that something special will be done regarding that at some point.
Now, the tag team division in WWE has had its hot spots, a lot of dull moments, I'd say, in the last 5 years, outside of, a couple times with, like, The Shield, the Usos, most recently Cesaro and Kid. But in Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling, the tag team division is booming. The Kingdom, they have some success going into Japan. Could fans see you guys maybe taking a trip there and trying your luck for the IWGP tag titles?
Absolutely. That's definitely something that we've, working on internally and talking to folks, and maybe trying to get something done soon there. But that's definitely uncharted territory as far as us being a team being over there. So many guys over there, and just guy team that are already over there that we'd love to wrestle. Definitely on our radar.
And you guys do obviously have your history with AJ Styles. Never know, maybe a Bullet Club confrontation.
We do. I mean, he's been a friend and foe for the better part of all of our careers. You know, our careers are always going to be intertwined. So yeah, you know, that's always always a fun day at the office anytime AJ's in there, either as a partner, as an ally, or as an opponent.
Is it crazy to see him at this age be better than ever? I mean, he was always great in TNA, but I feel like really the last couple of years he's just risen to a different level of star.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's, you know, attributed to working with, you know, different people, especially a lot of the New Japan athletes and just different people all over the world. AJ always was one of the top guys, one of the best wrestlers on the planet, in my opinion, but getting outside of the TNA confines really let him explore a lot more athletically, and he's, like you said, he's doing some of his best work, and it doesn't surprise me at all, because I know him, AJ, as a friend and as a man and as an athlete. I know what he's capable of, and he's showing the world right now.
Awesome. All right, well, we have a few fan questions before you go. You ready to take a few?
Why not?
Sure. Yep. All right, this one here. What are the Briscoes like in real life?
Briscoes in real life are like the Briscoes you see on television. There's very, very little, if any, separation from the characters and the guys. Sweethearts, but they are, you know, they're a couple of chicken farmers, and it's, you know, those two may be the closest to their characters than I've ever seen in the business. They are exactly that. You know, most people say a good wrestling character is a product, or is basically a product of your personality, maybe just amplified. That's absolutely the case, because those guys are those guys, and they are awesome.
Who is your dream opponent, dead or alive?
I don't wrestle dead people. I make it a rule never to wrestle dead people. That's just weird, and they're very tough to move and tough to pick out. God, there's so many. I mean, you know, there's so many guys. You know, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, obviously, two of the reasons I got into the business. Tito Santana, Ricky Steamboat, Chris Jericho, you know, Eddie Guerrero, guys like that, guys that I, you know, just really love their styles, and guys that, you know, I could kind of relate to being smaller, but not small, but very athletic and very innovative. Guys like that, definitely. I mean, as far as guys I probably won't get the opportunity to wrestle, that would definitely be the answer there.
Okay, let's see right here. You were in TNA for over a decade. You're having a lot of success in the Ring of Honor, but what are your thoughts on everything that's apparently going on with them right now and Destination America?
With TNA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really, I mean, I pretty much know what everyone else knows. I still have friends there, a couple at least, and, you know, I mean, in contact and, you know, hear kind of the good and the bad and the ugly, but, you know, not being there, I don't really have an inside perspective, so it's hard to comment. You know, I like Dixie, and I like Dixie. She's a sweet lady. She's always been good by me, and I want TNA to succeed, because, you know, if TNA fails, I feel that, like, it would be part of my failure too, because I was one of the guys that was part of the building blocks and the foundation of that company. So I want them to succeed. I don't know who's running the show basically right now, or who's making the decisions, but I hope, you know, things turn around, and I hope things get better. I really do. I don't want to see anybody fail in wrestling or in life.
Your WWE run was short-lived, and ironically, 5-10 years later, WWE seems a lot more open to wrestlers of your style and Christopher Daniels' style. If you came into WWE now, do you think you would have stuck around longer, given they're more open-minded these days?
Well, perhaps yes, that, and perhaps because I'm a lot different of a person. I'm a lot more mature. I know, you know, a lot of things that I didn't know back then in terms of the pro wrestling business side of it. When I was there, I was, you know, a 26-year-old guy living by myself with, you know, not many responsibilities and a different attitude. And, you know, 10 years can, I think we all changed a lot in 10 years. I mean, I think if you look at yourself, or if anyone listening, you know, thinks of how they were 10 years ago, you're probably a maybe not completely different person, but you got a different way of looking at things, and I certainly do. So, yeah, definitely, I think things would be different.
Do you think it's cool that, I mean, obviously they're trying to compete with Ring of Honor, and that's kind of flattering to you, but do you think it's kind of funny that finally now, that after all these years, they're opening their mind? I mean, they had success with CM Punk, they had success with Daniel Bryan, and only now are they really kind of going after guys that normally Ring of Honor or New Japan would sign.
I mean, I think they're going after good wrestlers. That's the bottom line. They're still gonna try to grab the NCAA legitimate wrestler guys and guys that are just perhaps come from an MMA background or an NFL, guys that have the look, the quote-unquote wrestler look. They're always going to be attracted to those types. But, they know that there's a good portion of the audience that watches a wrestling show because they want to see good wrestling. And they know that Ring of Honor has been a breeding ground, a proven breeding ground of guys that can just not wrestle good, but wrestle great. So I think they're going to continue to go after the guys that are good hands and that can get it done in the ring. And that's a smart business strategy. If I owned a wrestling company, that's exactly what I would do.
I interviewed Headlocked author Mike Kingston, who I think had a contribution from Christopher Daniels. Did you contribute to his stuff at all as well?
Yeah, I wrote a story for his next book. Finished it up a few months ago. He showed me a couple clips of some of the artwork being done, and it looks awesome. Mike's a friend and a colleague, and a guy I'm happy to collaborate with. Mike's a guy that loves and respects this business as much as any of the boys do. He really has a deep understanding of what we do and a passion for it and a passion for comics as well. So when Mike's next book comes out, and we're still a few months away from that, you can see a story penned by Frankie Kazarian in there, which I'm pretty psyched about because it's another creative outlet I have outside of pro wrestling and music and stuff to let fans see a different side of me.
Awesome, yeah. Mike's a great guy. Does a lot of great work. And this person here asks, what is your favorite comic?
Well, right now, currently, the one I'm reading are the Star Wars, the Darth Vader, and I haven't picked up the Lando Calrissian one yet. But I fall behind really, really quickly on comics. I'm hard to. It's not easy for me to keep up on just the volume of the books out there. I mean, if I read every book I wanted to, I wouldn't have time for anything else. But Chris Daniels definitely picks up the slack for me in that department. He's an encyclopedia when it comes to that. But I'm really, really digging the stuff that Marvel's done with the Star Wars books. I think it's, in particular, the Darth Vader and the Star Wars series, I think have been very, very strong. And being a humongous Star Wars fan, that covers two of my geek loves right there. So, yeah, the Star Wars stuff is top notch.
Yeah, I've covered a ton of the cons. It's amazing to see the evolution over the last few years of how these Comic Cons used to be for quote unquote geeks, and now being a geek or a nerd or a comic book lover is the in thing. I mean, it's so popular these days.
Yeah, it's not, when I was a kid, a nerd and geek didn't have the same kind of endearing terminology that it does now. Like if you were a geek or a nerd, you're a guy that got beat up or at least made fun of, for liking this stuff. And now it's, I guess all the geeks from our generation grew up, and we're now basically, these are the same guys that are making the Marvel movies that are writing the comics now. So it's a whole revolution. And the comic book industry has been very good to us. I mean, we have our own comic out, the Yeah Comics, which Franco and Baltazar did for us last year, and our relationship with Mike, and we're friends with a lot of different artists and writers, and we've really we're pals with a lot of guys at Marvel, and they're in turn big wrestling fans, and we have a really good relationship with a lot of different folks in the comic book industry, and it's that's really cool. I'm very, very proud of that, and that's an easy crossover audience with pro wrestling.
You worked with Raven a little bit in your TNA career. I heard he too was a legendary comic book enthusiast.
Yeah, he was. I remember him being so, and he's a creative guy, and I think he gravitates towards good stories, and obviously comic books, certain characters always have good stories behind them, and much like Chris Daniels. I remember him and Chris would talk comics a lot. And you'll find a good, maybe not a lot, but a good portion of the guys either currently do or did grow up on comic books and have a love and appreciation for them.
What is the best piece of advice you could give aspiring or young pro wrestlers?
Definitely learn the fundamentals. Crawl before you walk. When you get an opportunity to wrestle as often as you can, for as many different people as you can, in front of as many people as you can, and against as many different people as you can. Wrestling is a strange profession, but it's one that you're going to learn more on the job than you will just learning how to take bumps and to do a wrist lock and a sunset flip. And check your ego at the door and just really, really respect the business. I don't know that a lot of people teach respect to the business other than, the guys I mentioned earlier, the bookers and the Black Storms and the Dudleys and obviously the guys at the running the camp at the Performance Center. But yeah, just work and learn from everybody you're in the ring with. Don't get comfortable working with someone. A lot of little guys will wrestle just with little guys because they can do all the cool high spots. Well, that's easy. You get outside your comfort zone and work with a guy that's maybe very green or work with a guy that's very big. Just work with everybody and learn. Try to learn every time you're in the ring. You can find me at Twitter. It's pretty much the only social media I have, and I'm at Frankie Kazarian there. And I pretty much keep people updated on there, and also sound off on a lot of political stuff and various other topics. We talk about music and stuff. So, that's what you'll find if you follow me on Twitter. Which my Twitter might be. I'm not like the average wrestler where I just talk about wrestling. I really, really sound off on a lot of different things, and that's kind of cool because I get to engage with fans who like the same music I do or who feel the same way I do politically or feel the opposite of how I do politically. That's why I think social media is there.
Awesome. Well, Frankie, I really appreciate the time. Thanks so much. Congrats on all your success, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.